Tech Tuesday, back again. Have you been touched by a TIPM? Are you a JK owner who has spent hundreds and maybe $1,000 or more on TIPMs? We understand you. If you've been following along with SFJ 4x4, you know that we oftentimes get some of these really innate, finite diagnostic challenges. So what we're working on here is, this is one of my favorite Jeeps. Joe and Linda, great adventuring couple. This tank green 2015 Wrangler has been giving us some electrical issues for some time now. It has wiped out the alternator, the battery, the PWM fan. We're experiencing a number of interesting pieces. We have narrowed the focus back to the TIPM, but until I have a smoking gun, I really don't want to make that investment just yet. So I headed out and I borrowed a friend of mine their Snap-on thermal imager. So this particular product allows us to come in and evaluate the different temperature sensitivities. And so if we're looking here, you can actually see on camera, now the lighting is changing a little bit because of the Savage's camera light. There it goes, you see it recalibrated. These particular, these two relays are quite hot, and this actually, one of these relays is the ECM, the other one, the ASD, so the auto shutdown relay. So these two are still hot. That means there's still voltage. What we're dealing with is a parasitic draw on this system, which is killing the battery, has wiped out the alternator because the alternator was running overtime trying to recharge batteries constantly. And somewhere in the line, the PWM fan also became victim to this parasitic draw for some reason. Additionally, as you kind of scroll over, if you can see, so these, there's still voltage there. That means the computer's still awake. And the auto shutdown relay still have some voltage heading to them. As we scroll across the rest of the TIPM, we can actually see there's really not anything too exciting. Up in this corner here, you know, we were catching some hot off of these little wires when it was on, and in general you can see the warmth and temperature of the engine as compared to some of these lines. This guy right here is actually part of our fan relay system. It has done absolutely nothing through this process. So needless to say, we definitely have targeted, this should produce some type of voltage and or correlation with the fan. So we think we're on to something here, that we know that there's a draw on the fan's assembly, and now it's that ability to get a smoking gun before we replace the TIPM as a whole. And that's obviously part of the SFJ 4x4 difference. We really want to know the root cause of the issue before we just go about throwing money at parts. We're gonna spin around. While we're talking about electrical, I am super jazzed up. There's a couple dead giveaways on what this particular vehicle is. You can see the blue graphics, the blue inlay of the trail rated badge, but this right here is a dead giveaway. This is a brand new 4xe. 4xe Rubicon, it's a 2023. We are doing an SFJ 4x4 hybrid kit. And that's one of the things that I'm really proud of, that we are utilizing the best, we're cherry picking the best products from multiple different manufacturers to utilize their components in a combination of a kit unique to us. So represented in this suspension, we have Iron Rock Off-Road, JKS, Fox, and Rock Crawler, all represented up under the suspension of this. This suspension is this lift kit, it's going to be a 3.5-inch lift kit. It's going to be arguably tuned to the 4xe's weight and distribution via the axles and suspension. Needless to say, this thing should flex like a monster and ride comfortably down the highway. The 4xe is just such a cool vehicle. It is largely just a regular Wrangler on the outside. As soon as you get up underneath of it, that's where the magic happens. There is multiple high voltage wires running, a couple different battery banks. These batteries that are under the vehicle are actually bigger than the e-assist turbos, the 420 turbo Jeeps. That battery bank up under the Jeep is actually bigger. Then we have an interior battery bank. So it's really important for us to make sure that when we set these up, that we've got ample ground clearance and appropriate coil spring rates and shock valving. That has all kind of been considered with the parts and pieces that I've put into this kit that we are currently installing on the Jeep. Otherwise, like I said, looks completely like a regular Wrangler. Currently, the Iron Rock arms are going in front and rear. Tomorrow, we'll be bringing in the JKS track bar, bracketry, new Fox shocks coming on, and those RK specific 4xe springs. Pretty excited about that. And this thing is going to be just a monster when it is all done. You know, some of you with the newer Jeeps, you'll see this impact or roll resistance bracket here. We've been able to retain these with our modifications that we're doing for our customers. It has not had a problem clearancing the 37s that most of our customer base is going with on these platforms, be it JT or the new JL series. The other unique thing is we are going to use the JKS. They would look like quicker disconnects. They'll actually have a different pin structure. So with the Rubicon, we have the electronic disconnect. You can actually get in from this vantage point, Savage. You can see the module here for that electronic sway bar disconnect. Obviously, we saw that come out in 07. You know, pretty unique feature for the Rubicons. Obviously, they just keep improving upon it through the JK and into the JL JT series. We're going to have those JKS front sway bar links. They're very robust, nice product overall. And we'll round it out with JKS, rock crawler, and Fox components in the back. Control arms for Iron Rock. If you haven't paid attention, you haven't heard, this is one of my favorite pieces. This is pretty finite componentry here, but instead of using traditional jam nut structure that we have been exposed to for decades now, Iron Rock uses this swedge or wedge design, which actually is a pinch bolt assembly, and it pinches down on the threaded assembly of this end here. Iron Rock is unique. So everybody has their own flavor of flex joint. Iron Rock is still one of the companies that has you assemble your own. I actually really like that as a professional installation facility, because that means that our team is independently going in. We can make sure that there's full lubrication all around that joint, and that joint is assembled to our standards every single time. That's one of the things I do like. It adds to the labor cost, but I know that it's going to work well for you and gives us a lot of peace of mind when we turn that Jeep out. Hi, Tech Tuesday back again. I think I've already said that like 14 times. This is the final step for the 4xe. So Greg just got finished putting our SFJ hybrid kit on it, which is awesome. You can see the taser start to talk to the Jeep. So we can see the marriage is over. It went to the green double flash there. So now it's married, happy where it's at. We've been talking about this one. I'm really smitten with this Jeep. I love 4xes in general. Those of you who've all been playing and commenting on our Would You Electrify Your Jeep post, I'm a big yes, but there's definitely a lot of learning curve, and we'll see, you know, in 5 years from now how they're holding up, because that's going to be the challenge. Ready to go. It's going to head off to alignment. We'll do a quick walk around here. Still on the stock tires and wheels, but you can see with that Rubicon package, this easily is going to fit 37s. This Jeep, less than 1,000 miles on it. Big shout out to its owner who brought it in, let us play with it a little bit. This thing is going to have great off-road manners, but you know, handle super well. So we're going to do its initial drive. Now that the taser's on, we're going to get it off to alignment. I think my engine is on, and there goes, it's off. I don't know. I think I shouldn't be driving on electric based on like how much charge the Jeep is telling me there is, but the Jeep is the gift that keeps on giving, and I'm fully in electric mode right now. I think. a plug-in electric vehicle is going to be the wave of the future. I love the oil fields and our gas and natural gas and coal mining and those industries. I support those individuals because I believe they've built America to what they have been, and we still need all those industries to continue producing hybrid electric vehicles. Kudos to the mothership for how they have made this into a rugged off-road vehicle. I'm just enjoying myself now. All right, so here's the truth. I never hide any of our operations of how we do things because, quite frankly, I believe our model has been based on a heightened level of transparency and honesty with our customers. So I, as a business, have been outsourcing alignments for years. I have a heavy hand in it. We've worked with a couple different shops, all of them very reputable and good. Lake Erie Automotive has been our go-to alignment shop since about COVID hit. They're located right here in Conneaut, Ohio. They do a lot of the AC work and all of our alignments at this point. We have a dedicated alignment tech who I work hand in hand. We text back and forth through the alignment process, and it's a great experience. So here we are with the 4xe, dropping it off for alignment, turn that bad boy out. This should be a quick cooking book. Joe at the desk. And Julie, one of the owners, Lake Erie Automotive.
This is weird. How do you know I don't have warrants? You just gonna post my face all over the internet?
I don't care. That's the reality of the situation.
Hi,
friends.
Hello.
Would you
Hello.
like Asian or European?
I would like
Get
to
European.
taste Europe today. All right, that's wonderful. Thanks, guys. See you later. I might have to be involved with this one.
Which ones aren't you involved in?
True, but this is a hybrid,
Yeah.
and I gotta be honest, the steering wheel's upside down right now.
Why?
I don't have a good answer.
What did you do?
I don't.
What'd you do?
I don't have a good answer at the moment.
No worries.
All right, good luck.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So the coolest piece, because we do so much work with them and they are awesome people, they have some loaner vehicles. So if you're local and you're looking for a good reputable general service garage, this is who we recommend. And then when you're getting work done, you get a loaner vehicle. Ooh, we're riding in style. Oh, I just hit my head. This is not the one that I borrowed the other day.
Somebody was not following the rules in there.
No, it smells like straight smoke in here. Dirty. Not Lake Erie Automotive, but whoever was renting or loaning the vehicle. Stop smoking in non-smoking vehicles. Gracious. This is why we can't have nice things.
I feel like my is dragging.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm a clown in like a clown car. My head is, oh, I'm just driving. There we go. Definitely, this is as comfortable as using the windshield. The only challenge here is I don't have my side view mirrors.
Taking a very, very rusty Jeep apart. There's not much fender left. See if I can save the battery tray itself. Gotta move some jack stands around on the new frame. Get that bolted on. You already see I got the front bumper transferred over, and the Jeep badge. It's important. I can go ahead and take the rest of the wiring harness off, and we'll start getting motor mounts and tranny mounts and drive shafts off, and then we're going to pull this drive line out. It's easy to say, but that's going to take some time. Like I said before, this Jeep had been fixed before. That frame that fender is serviceable, and the grill so far is serviceable, but I had to remove the radiator with a cutoff wheel, so that's fun. Going to need all new clips for the radiator, and that radiator's no longer with us. Once the motor is out, we're going to put it on an engine stand, do our oil pan, water pump, valve cover gasket, spark plugs, all that stuff, get it ready. Then we will inspect the clutch, put it all back together, and drop it in the Jeep. So,
And then put that tub on.
yep, put that tub on it and start pulling everything out of this rusted disaster onto it. And the owner will be worrying about paint on this build.
And that's how you build a Jeep
And
from
that's how you,
scratch.
sort of. This is why you should look at a Jeep before you buy it. This was not the case for this customer, but you can just see the frame. There's not supposed to be a hole there. See the huge flakes of rust. Look how it's built up around that hose. Look at the brake lines. This Jeep seriously was not safe. And it's only got 60,000 miles on it. That's the crazy part. It has given its all. The tin worm has won. So this is how you fix that.
The mad scientist has been working on Brittany the Jeep. Brittany the Jeep is kind of occupying this L shape back into the vintage resto area. And he is doing a Jeepectomy as we take the usable parts and pieces off of Brittany and install them onto the new chassis that we have situated back over there. This is arguably one of the most rusty oil pans that we've ever seen on a appropriately functioning engine. This Jeep drove in as it sits. We've actually flipped it upside down at this point to make sure that we can get at all the bolts so that they're not breaking off. I think that if you spend any time wrenching upside down, you know how cumbersome that is. We really want our technicians to be in a appropriate, comfortable position. We've spent decades on cold, wet, damp floors, in the grass, in the gravel, doing all this stuff. We ground it out, and now we understand what it takes. And this is part of it. So you can see what this beautiful new pan looks like in comparison to the pan that we are supplementing. The Jeep only has about 52,000 miles on it, and I think we're gonna avoid getting gunk in there. You can see the bottom end of this engine. From here, you know, nothing really strikes out at us. So this is your oil pickup tube here. This is your pickup screen. You know, this is pretty standard. This is clean enough. We don't see a lot of corrosion present here. We don't have a lot of heavy, carbon buildup. Looks like it's stayed pretty lubricated over the years. Some Jeep engines that have had moisture or water in them, you'll see rust kind of built up on the pickup tube or on the pickup screen itself. We have our oil pump here. Obviously, this is our crank shaft that runs from rear main to front main, and obviously this is our front balancer or harmonic balancer here. So overall, pretty good Jeep. We're going to go ahead and put a new gasket on. Gasket is here. We're going to put the new pan on. Makes for a big difference as far as a quality install. That way, when this gets fully assembled, flipped back over, and installed, we have a lot of assurance that it's a good longitudinal fix. Well, I would have spun Brittany the Jeep's throwout bearing over for you. It sounds terrible, but it's kind of buried down over there. I do want to talk about that dash, but I want to swing Davey over there for a hot second and just mention our Patriot commuter. We went ahead and we actually pulled the engine out. If you've been following along, the team found exhaust particulate or combustible particulate in the antifreeze. We found the problem. You'll see that in some additional footage. We've got the head, which is aluminum, and the bottom, which is more of your standard cast steel and cast iron, and we've got them separated. We can see where you'll see it in the other footage. Long story short, it went out to the engine shop today or yesterday. It went out to the engine shop, and they'll be speccing it out, making sure the deck height is appropriate, that it's true, and inspecting the head to see whether or not we need to utilize a remanufactured head or we can just use the one that we had. So there is like 265,000 mile Patriot engine, and you can actually see part Patriot, part TJ over here. You see 2014. And this is the head, which is not in terrible shape despite it having a bajillion miles on it. And the customer has invested in this vehicle. It's been very good to him, but recently was having some coolant issues. It had a O2 sensor issue. It had a couple little icky picky things like this. And so our team went ahead and did a coolant fluid analysis. And so that's ultimately, we draw up some radiator fluid and we've got some magic that we sprinkle at it, and it tells us whether or not there is combustible materials in the coolant fluid, and there was. So the coolant fluid was depreciated, and then that tells us that we potentially have an issue at the head to head gasket. So what did we find out, mad scientist? Where'd you go? Why'd you toddle off?
So you see right here we have quite a bit of corrosion that's been seeping in this little spot here and in this area here.
So what is this little spot here and here, right?
This is actually nothing.
That's a big nothing.
But you have oil passages here and here and here. And you can,
Those oil passages are going to go up through the head, right? So they're going to, let me move this around, and you can actually see this here and this here.
You can see the corrosion is here as well in the same spot. And from what I can see, it's depreciated it here and here, allowing exhaust gas that's in the oil to love on the antifreeze.
You can see that lines up kind of, this is that oil journal, that long skinny oil journal, and then there obviously is this corrosion that we see present. So here's our head gasket,
which is the MLS multi-layer steel design, and right in this area is what we're talking about.
At this point, we have reasonably identified where the issue is coming from. We can see down in the cylinder bores, tops of the pistons. For 265,000 miles, that's honestly not that bad. Oftentimes, some of our older Jeeps with less tight tolerances, or ones that have been driven very hard, or have had particulate matter fall down the cylinder walls or into the cylinders, you'll see the cylinder walls are scuffed. You'll see issues on top of the pistons, maybe where they've burnt a piece of matter. And so it'll be a crusty piece or a hole in a piston, something crazy like that. We're really not seeing any of that. Customer has elected to reasonably leave the bottom end of this Jeep alone. So our goal is to be as minimally invasive to this 265,000 mile engine as possible and shove it back into the Jeep, and hopefully they'll get another couple years out of it once we remediate some of the other issues that we can get to while it's out.
I mean, at this point, I think we have to address that corrosion. We're electing to put a reband head on it so we won't have to worry about the corrosion on that piece. And hopefully in this general area, this can be addressed without too much invasive.
So one of the things that would be ideal if we were building a motor is we would check how smooth or flat, we call this the deck. So we want to make sure that the deck is true and flat to it. On our 6 cylinders, they'll develop a belly, or if it was some very hot, high performance engine, it might actually twist a little bit. And so typically our machine shop will come in and basically run a mill once this is all disassembled.
Big fly cutter.
And smooth all of this out. So we've got a little bit of a challenge on our hands to not do all of that, since we're not looking to disassemble the total bottom end, but still give them a good quality product. I suppose last on our tour here is this particular CJ7. We're moving right along in it. One of the things that we're particularly excited about and proud is this dash assembly is only sold as a solid piece. No place for this particular clock or that tachometer. And we have reasonably figured out the secret sauce that allows us to get those machined to the appropriate openings to allow that gauge installation to look really clean, be kind of appropriately aligned to the column. Now that that is back from the machine shop, the gauges are installed, we can keep moving forward on that dash structure itself.